Okay, I'm going to be talking about how to go from constant contact and get that information from there into SwissSys. So here we see the constant contact page for the just completed 2017 Oregon Open Scholastic. And what you need to do is once your registration is closed, you come over here to reporting and you say export report, generate a full report, and it will create an entry down here. And so you can see that this has been done several times. Here's the latest one. What you need to do is download that, and you're going to download that to a directory like we have here. When you download it, you get this registrant details report.csv. Okay, so you get that file from Constant Contact. Now, some other files that you're going to need to get going here. Let's go to oscf.org. We come down here. You're going to need to go here and get the TD data package. That will have that allcodes.csv in it and the ratings file. You'll see those in a second. And you also need to click here and download CCSwissSys. This is a program we're going to be using to get constant contact information into SwissSys. Okay, so now we can see the allcodes CSV and the ratings file that we get from the TD data package from oscf.org. And we can see the CCSwissSys program that we've downloaded from there as well. Okay, so now we're ready to get started with the program. So let's double click it. Okay, so this is what the program looks like. What you need to do is let's just start off and load the ratings file. This is the one that we just downloaded. So we load that. It takes a second. Okay. Next we load the constant contact registration information, which is here. And then we load the school code file. Okay, so now what you're going to do here is going to depend on what kind of tournament you're running. If you know what sort of sections you want, like if you know you want a 0 to 600 section and a 601 to 899 section and an under 1100 section and an open section. So if you sort of know what kind of sections you want, you would add each of those sections here into this section using this add button. And I'll show you how to do that. Now for this particular tournament, we didn't beforehand decide there's going to be particular ratings breaks. So what you can do in that case is you can say, okay, I want to add a section. It doesn't matter. We're just going to call it all. It's everybody. Okay. And then we come down here and we say create sections from registration and ratings data. So now what the program is going to do is it's going to go through everyone in the constant contact registration list, and it's basically trying to detect changes in school code, because sometimes players will change schools and that needs to be detected and reported to the ratings coordinator. So in this particular case, a parent has said that their child attends Hazelbrook Middle School, but their previous school code from the ratings file is detected as LNX. So we see that LNX was an elementary school, and evidently they've went on to middle school. So we need to scroll up to the H's and find Hazelbrook Middle School. It's probably HZ. Yeah, here it is, a Hazelbrook Middle School. Okay, so we double click that. Okay, here's another case where maybe this student hasn't played for a while. They were previously at Lennox Elementary, and now they're reporting is Tualatin High School. So maybe they didn't play the whole time they were in middle school. But, okay, so we just come down to the T's and we find Tualatin High School. Oh, here it is, Tualatin High School. Okay, so another somebody else going from middle school to, somebody else going from elementary to middle school. So let's scroll up to the I's and find Inglewood Middle School. Except it's in the school code file. It's actually called Inglewood Junior High. So we'll select that. Okay, so I know from doing this before that so this is a new player because they don't have a previous school code here. So this is a new player, and they've said their school is Camas High School, and I know that this school is not in the in the school code file. There's a Camas Elementary, but there's not a Camas High School. So we need to come up with a unique 3-digit code here, and I know from looking that CMH is not used. Other things like CMS are used, and CAM, and various combinations of this, so you have to find one that's not used, and it can't be an English word either. So we pick CMH as the code, we type in the name of the school, we type in what kind of school it is. Sometimes it's a combination, elementary, middle school, for example, but in this case it's just the high school. And this is in Camas, and in this case this is actually a player from Washington, Camas, Washington. And we click OK. Okay, here's a homeschool player, that's HSO. Okay, now in this case, the parent typed a school name that wasn't exactly what appears in the school code file. But here we see that, basically it's the school is, their previous school was ACC, and we can see that this basically corresponds to that. That's what they meant. So we can just go ahead and click here to confirm that it's the same school. And here's another case of that for Alliance Charter. Here's another one. Hayhurst is not has this Odyssey in the name in the school code file, so we just click that. Here's another case of where it's the same, and another case. Okay, now here's somebody going from middle school to high school, so we have to find Wilson High School. WHP Wilson High School. Okay, here's another case of a new player. There's no ID, there's no code up here, so it's a new player. And this school also doesn't exist, so I know that ELC is an unused identifier. So I come in here, I type in the name, and in this particular case I looked online and found out that it's a combination elementary, middle, and high school. And I also had to look online to find out it's in Lebanon, Oregon. Okay, so it's loaded all the players, and usually it's going to pop up. Usually there's some sort of minor issue that the program wants you to know about. It's going to pop up the CCSwissLog.txt. When you at the end of the tournament, when you finish rating the tournament, you should send this file to the ratings coordinator. It's going to contain useful information for the ratings coordinator. And in it has things like school code changes. So we see quite a few of them here because it's a tournament very early in the year. Some school code changes. We see some warnings that a USCFID was specified but wasn't present in the ratings file. So maybe that information can be propagated into the ratings file by the ratings coordinator. We also see down at the bottom the 2 new schools that we entered for Camas and East Lynn. Okay, so we can close this. Now, so we see that it loaded 48 players. We can click on the section name and we can see the players. Sorting here works. You can click on last name back and forth. It sorts various directions. First name sorts. So basically, you can go through all of these. Basically, will sort if you click on them. So here we clicked on. Now we're sorting by highest rating down to lowest rating. Now, so in this particular case, we wanted 3 sections. We wanted 3 sections. So what we can do is we can go over to split, and we have couple of options here. If we wanted to make quads, we could click on quads, What that's going to do is it's going to keep making quads from the top rated players until it gets down to the point where there's less than um, 8 players, and then it's going to make a Swiss out of those. Now, if you have an even number, if you have an even multiple of 4, it's just going to make quads. But if you can't make quads, if it's not an even number, then you're going to end up with somewhere between 5 and 7 people in a Swiss. The lowest rated players at the bottom are going to form a Swiss. Now, in this particular case, we want to split into evenly sized sections, and we went 3 sections, so we just say that. And you can see that our section description here has now been split into 3, where each one has 16 players. And we can again click here and see the different sections down below. As we click a section name here, we see the players in that section below. Okay. Now, when it splits, it just adds 1, 2, 3 to the section name, but we don't want that. So we can come in over here to edit, and we can say, we'll call this the 1100 plus section. It's not exactly 1100 plus, but close enough. Okay, I'll come back to this screen a bit more when I talk about entering sections manually. Okay, so we can come here and we can say edit. We'll call this the under 1100 section. And we'll click here and we'll say edit. And we have the under 700 section. Okay, now you notice that whenever you edit a section, it sort of flushes the section. So after we've edited sections, we need to click this again, and it will bring up this again, and we can just close it. Okay. So now again, we can see the sections down below. Okay. So now we're ready to create the CCSwissSys tournament. So we come over here, we say create CCSwissSys tournament. It's going to make us save this constant contact to CCSwissSys configuration. So let's just call it example. No, let's say the Oregon Open 27 Scholastic 2017. Okay. So it says it created it successfully, and it's going to pop up some notes here. So this will help particularly new directors make sure everything goes smoothly. It's saying that we need to go in and turn on team pairing restrictions. We need to set the number of rounds and board numbers and time control. And these are general announcements that you might make at the start of the tournament about touch, move, touch, take. Raise your hand if you have a question. You can read these things. And also down at the bottom, it's noting that in the 1100 plus section, there's 2 players, the last name Schuff. So those are very likely siblings. So we need to ask at the registration desk if they are indeed siblings. If they aren't, then we can remove the player's club designation with player's tinker in CCSwissSys. We'll see how to do that. But if they are, we'll leave that in place, and that will prevent pairing them until potentially the last round. Okay, so you can see here it says if there were sibling restrictions, then remove those restrictions with 1 or 2 rounds to play. Okay, so let's bring up CCSwissSys here. Yeah, let's bring up CCSwissSys. Okay, and we can go File, Open. So this is, notice that we called our configuration file Oregon Open Scholastic 2017, and so it generated a CCSwissSys tournament with the same file name. And you can also see in our directory over here, we can see some other things. This is a file for CCSwissSys. These SOC files is a file for CCSwissSys. You notice that we also have several files here they're called checkin.xls. So this generated a check-in spreadsheet for you. I'll show that to you. Okay, so you can see we got the check-in list for 1100 section. These are the players. And in the notes section, we see a couple of them say, okay, we think these people are siblings. Verify when they check in that they are indeed siblings. And also there may be a note here in case they were registered in the system as grade 8, but in the constant contact information, the parent specified grade 9. So, did they skip a grade? Or did they say this because it was the start of the school year? So if they skipped a grade, we need to figure out if they skipped a grade and then report that to the ratings coordinator. If they didn't skip a grade, then there's nothing to report. So basically, all of the check-in files are going to look like this, and you can print those and have those at the check-in desk. Yeah, so while we're here, this is the log file that we saw as well. This is the TD notes in case you need to get back to that. Okay, so we can go back here to CCSwissSys. We can load this tournament, and we can see the 3 sections. These are whatever the section names you give it, or what's going to appear here at the top of CCSwissSys. We can click here, and we can see these. We can see the players. Now we can go back over here to the TD notes, and it says, okay, turn on team pairing restrictions for all sections. Okay, so we come over here, setup. Oops, sorry, wrong one. We click on rules for pairing, and we click on team. Okay, so the Federation Club, for players that are siblings, this Federation Club is what's going to stop them from playing each other. And team is going to stop people from the same school playing each other. So you would turn these off with the last 1 or 2 rounds. But for now, we leave them on. So we go over here, and we're going to say rules for pairing again. We're going to turn on team. Under 700, rules for pairing, turn on team. Okay, now let's go back to the TD notes. Okay, it says second thing we got to do, set the number of rounds, board numbers, and time control for each section. And for that, we come set up multi-tournaments here. In this particular tournament, the time control was game in 45 with a 5-second delay. All sections are alike, so we can put that here. If each section was different, then we would have to do it over here. So we click here, and we say View Edit Section. Here we want to confirm that this is going to be a regular Swiss. And here we can say there's going to be 4 rounds. And the board numbers for the tables are going to start from 101 for this section. Okay, we can click under 1100, do the same thing. There's going to be 4 rounds for this section in this tournament. Board numbers are going to start at 201. And finally, for the under 700 section, also 4 rounds. 30 board numbers are going to start from 301. Okay, so we did that. Now let's check our notes again. Okay, so we've done some CCSwissSys setup. Now we are good to go with the tournament. I'm not going to talk about how to run the tournament in CCSwissSys. We're just going to talk about how to get the data into CCSwissSys here. Okay, so this is fine here. Okay, so now let's minimize CCSwissSys. Let's close this. Okay, so let's go back to CCSwissSys here. Now, let's say we wanted to do a slightly different kind of a tournament. Let's delete these sections. Now, let's say that we had pre-advertised that we were going to have a 1200 section, an open section, right? So we can call this the open section. The minimum rating is 1200. If there's no maximum rating, you can just leave it blank. Here you could, if there was some grade restriction, you could put those in here, minimum and maximum grades. Usually you'll do a Swiss, but if you wanted to do a round robin section, you could select that here, and that gets propagated into CCSwissSys. You can also say that this section requires a USCF membership, and then you'll get a notice in the log if someone tries to enter that section and they don't have a membership. But this is all we'll do for now. Open section. Okay, now we can add another section. We'll call this the under 1200 section. So the maximum rating here is 1200. Let's say we're going to have 901, so it'll be a 900 to 1200 section. I'm sorry, this is 1199. 900 to 1199. Okay, and we'll have another section. It's the under 900 section, and we'll say this is say 600. Okay, and then we can have an under 600 section. And then let's say we have an under 400 section. Now I'm not recommending such an under 400 section, but this is just an example of what you can do here. Okay, so now we've described our sections here. We're breaking them up based on ratings breaks of our choosing. And we're not going to have any grade restrictions at all in any of these sections. So we can come down here again and we'll say create section from registration and ratings data. Okay, we see the same log information that we saw before. So notice that it's not asking you for those school code choices again. So once you've entered them in and saved it in one of these CTS files, it's going to remember them for that tournament. If for some reason you want to get rid of them and start over, you can click on options and click off this save school corrections, and that will delete that list of information, remembering who all the corrections from what the user entered to the correct school code. So you can forget about those here and then re-enter them if you made a mistake for some reason. Okay, so we've said create the sections, and we can see the number of players in each section. And again, you can click here. Okay, so under 400, yeah, that's a really silly section because that's the lowest rating. So let's say okay, we don't want that section. Okay, so now we try to create sections again, and now it's giving us an error. Some players not added to a section. Please read the log. And now you can see down here it says that this player wasn't added to any section. So you got some problem with your section descriptions here. So we can just come into under 600 and we can get rid of this minimum rating. And now we can do this again. And there's no errors, just warnings. And you can see all the players here. Okay. Now what may happen is maybe some additional players show up the day of. You said no on-site registration, but somebody shows up anyway, and they want to play, and you're like, okay, well, I got a spot. I'll try to work them in. So you can click on Manage Additional Registrations, and here you can search for that. You can search for that player. So let's say, I don't know. Let's just start searching. Last name G. And you can see it's going to bring up all the G's here, and you can try to narrow it down. Let's see if there's a GI. Okay, there's a GI. And you can even come over here and search by M. So now it's everybody with GI in the last name and M in the first name. Okay, so maybe it's whatever. Maybe it's this player. So we double click there, and now they're added to this list. Okay, and now we go back over here and we say create sections again. And now that person should have been added to one of these sections. What section did they get added to? Let's see. Yeah, see, they got added down here. Okay. So you can go in here, and if you double click up here, you remove someone. If there's a new player who's not in the ratings database, you can just enter their information here. Okay, so this is an example of what you might do. Right, Art Vandalay from Wilson High School. And also you can type in school name here and then say find school code, and it will find the correct school code for that. So yeah, we could do this, and then we could say okay. Oops, I forgot. Sorry, we were supposed to say add new player, and that would have added them. That would have added them. Okay. So that's how you can do that. If you were running a tournament only with on-site registration, you could use this window to very quickly look up players. In this way, this sort of window here is very similar to the NWS Reg V5, where you would look up players. There you could only look up by last name, but here you can look up by any field. Any field. Okay. So that's manage additional registrations. And okay, so let's say, let's just go ahead and create SwissSys tournament here. And we see our list again of TD notes. And we can go over to SwissSys, and now we can open this again. And we can see now that here's our new sections with our new players. And we would have to go in here and follow the TD notes again to set up the sections appropriately. There's a couple of other features I'd like to show you here. So let's go ahead and delete these sections. Now, particularly for very large tournaments, it may be the case that you want say an under 600 section, and maybe there's like 50 kids who register in the under 600 section. But you can't. But that's too large for a section, 50 kids. So you'd like to break that section up, but you don't want to break the section up by rating. In other words, you don't want to have like a 400 to 450 section and then a 450 to a 600 section. What you'd like is two sections, both 400 to 600, where the players are sort of distributed somewhat randomly between the sections. Okay, so it's not random. What we can do actually is we can go in here. So we just created a section all again for all. We can say, let's edit the section actually. And we can say subsections. So if the section was too large, we could come and we could say, okay, I want, in this case, say I want three subsections. Okay, let's create sections again here. Okay, and so now you can see basically what it does is it takes the highest rated person and puts them in section 1. It takes the next highest rated person and puts them in section 2. It takes the next highest rated person and puts them in section 3. And then it keeps rotating. The next person goes in 1, the next person goes in 2, the next person goes in 3. And so on all the way down. Okay, so you click on the section and you're going to see what subsection they're in over here in this column. Okay, so let's see what that looks like in SwissSys. We can create the tournament. And we can come to SwissSys and we can load that now. Okay, so we can see that it took our section name and it added A, B, and C. So all dash A, all dash B, all dash C. So all these sections have the same rating range, but they've just sort of been, interleaved, distributed those players between those sections in case the section was too large. Okay, so again, if you've got a section that's too large, you can choose to split based on rating, and for that you use the split button. If you just want to have multiple sections with the same rating range, you can click on Edit and go on number of subsections. Just a few other little things what these buttons do. If I have multiple sections here, I can click on one of the sections and use these buttons to move that section up or down in this particular list. That's all it does. Yeah, you've seen me use this. If I want to delete the section, I click on the section and I say delete. So that's a introduction to CCSwissSys. I hope you find it useful. If you have any problems with it, please report those problems to OSCF at oscf.org. Thank you.